Hey everyone, welcome back to Electoral Dysfunction, the show where comedians and experts debate the news of the week from the safety of their quarantine. I'm your host, Tom Brennan. Thank you for being with us for another week. It is October 4th when we're running this show, Sunday, October 4th, and that means that there are 30 days until the 2020 election. The last 30 days of the Republic. And if the preceding number of days leading up to this election, if we're being honest, for the last 4 years, are any indication, the next 30 days should be even worse. So buckle up. Good news, the 2020 census deadline has it's been extended. The news is confusing, but suffice to say that it will continue until October 31st. So don't wait though, just get on it right now. Head to my2020census.gov, get counted. And with that, as we come on the air today, we have a president in the hospital with COVID-19. We have a world on the brink, an election that is just around the corner. There's so much happening. We've got a jam-packed panel. So what else can I say? But Ned Thorne, star white me to the first guest. Joining us now from the USC Health Sciences campus in California is our chief medical correspondent, Dr. Luke Heidorf. Hi, sir. You're not our usual medical correspondents.
Well, I was just coming by. This camera was set up, and hello, is this like a chat roulette situation we got going on here, or?
No, sir. This is Electoral Dysfunction. We're a political talk show. I was expecting a medical correspondent. I'm getting, oh my, from the control room. Sounds like Dr. Heidorfer has indeed contracted COVID-19, can't be with us today. So this is awkward.
Well, sorry, no.
Who are you?
Look, I am a doctor.
Oh, really?
I am, yes, I'm a doctor of shredding.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
American
right.
Hi-Fi is the greatest band of all time. Yeah. Just the flavor of the week. That's WEAK. Anyway, look, yes.
What is your name? What is your name, sir?
My name is Dr. Cody Brody.
Okay.
And yes. Yeah.
Dr. Cody Brody, welcome to Electoral Dysfunction.
Well, welcome to my abode of virtual insanity. Jamiroquai defined late 90s punk ska. Do it.
I can't argue with that. Well, since you are a doctor of shredding, I believe you said, I guess I'll go ahead and ask, Doctor. What are your thoughts on President Donald John Trump has in fact contracted COVID-19? He's been taken to the hospital.
Wait. What?
The president has coronavirus.
Wait, I thought, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been on the South Shore of Delaware just shredding the freaking gnar like no other, you know?
Sure.
So with that cold thing has like, you know, kind of like, it's still like a thing? Like
COVID-19 is still a thing. Yes, coronavirus is still a thing, doctor.
Wait, but like, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson said it, you know, if you just throw back some like elk meat and like chase it with some Red Bull and some Bang and some Monster Energy and some flaxseed oils, then you're good to bro.
Right. I'm sure they did. I haven't listened to those shows. I guess I'm curious, you know, we've been in a global pandemic for 8 months. You haven't
Wait.
any of this, doctor?
Pandemic?
Yeah.
Is that like a cooking appliance for skin?
It is not a cooking appliance for skin. Very good guess, though. No, the COVID-19 virus is infected millions worldwide, and in this country alone, it's killed 200,000 people at this point.
Oh my God, that sounds really serious.
It is, yes. The president has contracted it. He is currently in the hospital. we're recording this on Saturday, things could have changed, but as of right now, he has some, as we understand it, rumors are flying about. He has some serious breathing issues. It's still very much a thing.
Oh my God. I can't believe President Clinton contracted coronavirus.
President Trump, not President Clinton.
Wait, the featured extra from Home Alone 2?
Yes, the featured extra
Oh,
is the president.
no!
Sir, how long have you been, I think, was it enjoying the NAR on the south shore of Delaware?
Shore of Delaware. I mean, since, like kind of, the JonBenet Ramsey era.
Oh my goodness, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a lot to get caught up on. I'd recommend OJ Made in America, the ESPN documentary. That really gives you a good idea of the last decade.
Wait, the Naked Gun featured actor?
All right. Come on.
Oh, no.
You had to have known he was a murderer. That can't be.
Well, I mean, you hold them, that Big Rich song, which I also know about.
The song.
No one to hold them, no one to
Sure.
That NAR.
So, Dr. Cody Brody, I appreciate your time. I think we've probably learned all we can from you. I guess, what the heck, I'm feeling generous. Any words of wisdom as a doctor for the people at home?
Sure. I mean, above all, when you're making medical decisions or safety decisions, take all political arguments or political discourse out of it and just rely on the science of issue rating. Just the flavor of the week. Seriously, listen to American Hi-Fi. They are sick. Bye.
We're all over it, Dr. Cody Brody. Ned Thorne, Star White meets the panel. And join me in welcoming this week's panel. First up, she's the only doctor we trust. Certainly we trust her more than Donald Trump's doctors. Dr. Timaree Schmit, coming to us from Philadelphia. Timaree, how are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic. I actually finally paid off my student loans, so
yeah,
the doctor thing is finally real.
One good thing in 2020, we did it. Congratulations.
Yeah,
huge.
My pandemic has been spent learning sword fighting, learning how to ride a motorcycle, and paying off my student loans. I'm using this time effectively.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Wow, what's great is if there's a zombie apocalypse, you're going to sound really dumb for paying off the student loans and really good for the sword fighting and the motorcycle.
I'm just trying to cover all the possible, there's no way to be prepared, right? So just trying to cover as many bases as I can.
What if they're zombie creditors? So then you made the right call. Next up, we're very excited to have her with us. She is growing the blue dots across the South from the great state of North Carolina, Jess Moore Matthews. Jess, how are you, my friend?
I am doing well, entering month 8 of being both a career person and also a daycare teacher. So we just added a new student last month.
Congratulations.
Now 7 weeks old. And we're making it somehow, some way. I don't know. This is nap time. So thank you, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, this is normally my nap time too. So I was able to. Thank you for joining us. Next, a very funny comedian also coming to us from the great city of Philadelphia. Get his album Black Gentrifier wherever you get albums, but specifically darrylcharles.bandcamp.com. Darryl Charles is with us. Darryl, how are you doing, my friend?
Better every time someone buys Black Gentrifier, which is in stores.
It's a good album.
Yeah,
we recommend it.
Look at that.
Well, thank you for joining us. And of course, editorial columnist for the New York Daily News, my buddy, my pal, my lifelong chum, Mr. Robert George. Robert, how are you, friend?
I'm doing pretty well. Given one of the, I'm in the news business, and this was like one of the slowest news weeks we've had in some time. So, but I'm doing okay.
It's exciting.
I have to go out. I feel I have to go out and make news or something like that because things are just so quiet.
That's absolutely true. So we are recording this on Saturday, October 3rd. So a lot will probably change by the time we run this Sunday, October 4th. Literally this morning, Chris Christie didn't have COVID, but now he does. So I want to go back in time for a moment. Just last Sunday, we dropped this show, and about an hour later, this bombshell New York Times story comes out that the president basically hasn't like ever paid taxes. He's paid $750 worth of taxes, as it turns out. The $750 man himself. And was millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. All of that was about to come due in the next few years. And I remember reading this story and feeling really dumb because I never understand, like I am someone who, I get that Trump's evil. I get that he's a bigot. I get that he's many bad things, but he'll do crazy stuff every once in a while. And I'd always be like, why? And now I get it. If I owed $400 million to presumably not good people, I'd probably go nuts. And I said to myself, we are going to talk about this on next week's show. Nothing will stop me from talking about this. And then even in the debate, he has this, sort of meltdown on TV. Even then I was like, I'd probably have a meltdown on TV if I had to debate for my job. Well, the world found out I owed $400 million to someone. Probably, again, not great people, probably of the Russian persuasion, who, if you owe them money, it's not great. And so I was like, we're going to talk about this. We'll find a way to talk about it. Nothing Trump does can stop me from talking about this. So he's in the hospital now with COVID-19. He was flown to Walter Reed Medical yesterday by a military helicopter. I guess in a show of strength to prove that he could still walk across the lawn to the helicopter. It came out this week that longtime aide and confidant Hope Hicks had COVID-19. She appears to be the source of the spread. The timeline, as we learned at a press conference with his doctors this morning, is kind of fuzzy on how long he's had it and how long we've known. But he is tested positive. His wife, First Lady Melania Trump, has tested positive. Kellyanne Conway has tested positive. Senators Mike Lee, Tom Tillis, and Ron Johnson have all tested positive. Governor Chris Christie has tested positive. Fingers crossed that the words Rudy Giuliani test positive hits at some point in the next few hours, because I don't wish pain on anyone, but that would be fun. We are in uncharted waters. This is as uncharted a situation. We are, when this runs, we will be 30 days to the presidential election. The president, who is a 74-year-old man, who as Robert George rightly tagged, is in many of the high risk areas for this disease, is hospitalized, will need to be quarantined at least 14 days in the middle of a national election. A lot has happened this year that has merited the word, this is crazy. This is crazy.
It's following the three act.
Yeah, it's a big 3-act structure.
Yeah.
Tom,
Robert, go ahead.
I think it's been written in a couple of different places that Donald Trump everybody knows Donald Trump is not a religious man. Mm-hmm. However, at some point in his life, he bought into the philosophy of Norman Vincent Peale and particularly the big book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And we have seen the product we know. The president is positive. His wife is positive. His trusted aide is positive. The chairman of his party is positive. His campaign manager is positive. The former governor of New Jersey, as you said, is positive. 3 Republican senators are positive. So we have the Republican Party is now. Well, it's the GOP, the grand old pandemic. So
that wordplay brought to you by the Daily News. Subscribe.
So this is where we've gotten to, and it is very easy to dunk on this man because of the way he has mishandled a 100-year pandemic.
Timaree's aggressive nodding there says yes, it is easy to dunk.
No, it's easy to dunk on him, except for the fact.
It's great. That's filling.
Except for the fact that this is because from what because the president seems to be in okay condition and the other people seem to be have either mild symptoms or no symptoms, it's easy to dunk on them. That's the kind of the farcical aspect of this. The tragic aspect of it is, though, that as of the time this airs, it'll be 210,000 Americans dead and still going up. 7 million 7 million cases and going up, and this administration still doesn't really have a real way of solving it, other than that it'll fritter away.
Mm-hmm. I just want to give a shout out to the contact tracers. We were really able to track what happened at the super spreader event that was, a bunch of Republicans meeting. And, it's contact tracing like that that's going to get us out of this pandemic. So just the shout out to everyone following up and putting timelines together to see exactly when all of these people were spitting in each other's mouths.
Well, let's talk about that just for the context. It looks like the super spreader event could very well have been the introduction of Judge Amy Coney Barrett as the nominee for the Supreme Court. Many of the relevant parties trace it back to that event, which again, I think a lot of people have said variations on this, but at least wait till someone's in the ground, I guess, before you dance on their legacy, because fate has a way of pushing back.
There's a lot that can go wrong when you rush things. I'm just saying.
Yep. Take your time.
My grandma said that at some point.
Yep. Take your time. Make a plan. Make a plan.
Haste makes waste. Was that the old adage? I believe that was the adage. Okay.
It certainly did in this case. So let's talk first. Let's unpack. I guess we'll talk about this from a couple angles, but the political impact, which is to say, the president is a candidate for president. He attended a rally and a couple of donor events, likely while positive for COVID-19, or I think it's definitely while he was positive. I think they're still being fuzzy with the timeline on whether or not he knew he was positive in that. Yeah.
Let me just quickly say.
Please, newsman.
The timeline that is most charitable to the president, which is still not good, is that he attended a fundraiser in Bedminster, New Jersey, on Thursday evening. It was known, at least earlier in the day, probably late in the evening on Wednesday, that Hope Hicks had tested positive. So at that point, the president had obviously knows that he had been, in her presence, and the wise thing to have done would have been to cancel that fundraiser. Instead, he goes there and quite conceivably exposes the individuals there. That's a charitable description, and it's a bad one. However, at the press conference today. On
Saturday.
At the press conference Saturday, the White House physician, Dr. Conley, said that we are 72 hours into the diagnosis of the president, which means that he would have tested positive on Wednesday afternoon, meaning he then went to a rally in Minnesota that evening and then went to the Bedminster fundraiser on Thursday, which is why after the press conference, the White House sent out word saying, well, the doctor, actually it was two doctors, the doctor who said 72 hours misspoke. He meant to say day 3 of the diagnosis, meaning Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So it basically compressing 36 hours into 72 hours.
I, for one, am shocked that the doctor who said that Trump was a perfect specimen of health is somehow inaccurate, either intentionally or not. I for one, am so surprised.
I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but I think I may be wrong, but I think that was the previous White House physician who said perfect physician. Though that previous one has now gone completely off the rails and has gone as close to QAnon as you can imagine, and is running for office in Texas. But the current,
so they probably replaced him with someone real sane and with good judgment, because so far that is what has happened. When you leave the Trump administration, they bring in someone much more competent to replace you.
So the White House is now spinning so one doctor says 72 hours since the diagnosis. A second doctor says he's been on a therapeutic cocktail for 48 hours. 48 hours would mean that was starting on Thursday. In the a couple of hours after the press conference, the White House physician, Dr. Conley, sent out a letter saying, I misspoke. When I said 72 hours, I meant to say we're in day 3. When I said 48 hours, we're actually in day 2. Problem with that is he wasn't the one that said 48 hours. It was a different doctor. In the same letter, the White House physician, by the way, misspells the name of the therapeutic and also misdescribes the compounds in it, to the extent that the manufacturer has to send out a statement saying, oh, the doctor misspoke. So everything
is going fine. We know who to pick to keep this country on the path it is on. America is great, and we're going to keep it great still, right? That's what they call it?
That is the motto. Keep it great still, yes.
It's make America great again. Yes.
Yeah.
Make America great.
I like keep America great still. I like that one. CAGS.
CAGS sounds like he's in better health now than he was pre-COVID, if you listen to the doctor's report on Saturday. So
that is very true. And
Jess, that was a great point. We are really in cloud cuckoo land, because the doctors were,
because everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome. Very rosy situation. The White House sends out an unattributed statement saying, well, things were kind of touch and go yesterday, and the next 48 hours will kind of tell the tale. So the doctors are downplaying the president's condition. The White House, without a name attached to it, Mark Meadows, he was like right there. He was right there, and the camera kind of catches. The camera catches him saying to some of the print reporters, "Can we go off the record here? Can we go off the record here?" And then they wander off, and then suddenly this statement comes out of nowhere saying, "Well, despite what the doctors were saying, things were kind of bad yesterday, and we'll see how things are looking in the next 48 hours."
So what's happening? We've never, as an adult, I've never had a moment where I'm like, I've had to wonder out loud, is the president alive? I've never had to.
I think it's pretty bad. I think it's clear that it's pretty bad. I mean, even when answering the question, they're like, is the president on oxygen? Well, no, he's not on oxygen today. Okay, does that mean he was on it yesterday? I said he didn't have any today. It's like, okay.
That's how lawyers teach you to answer questions right there.
Right. I can just imagine the press secretary and everyone just like, oh my God, why do you say it like that? It
was like a step above. He definitely wasn't on oxygen late last night. He wasn't on oxygen late this morning. He certainly wasn't on oxygen any other times, except maybe one. Anyway, we gotta go. I gotta go do surgery. Sure.
Tom, to your point, the answer, if the president was no longer among the living, those statements would be factually true. He was not on oxygen. He was not on oxygen. Just saying.
Not at all.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't. Yeah. As Robert rightly pointed out, sometimes on this show, given the changing nature of news, I'm quick to say the President of the United States, who as of this recording is still Donald John Trump. I guess for today it'll be the President of the United States, who, as far as we know, is still Donald John Trump. So let's talk then. But you think about this is against the backdrop of him trying to rush through a Supreme Court nomination and the home stretch of a presidential election, where the president could be physically sidelined for a while, and certainly he is someone who can make his voice known no matter where he is. But even so, that's not always a good thing. I guess I would, and Robert, you're someone who worked on Capitol Hill. What do you think is happening right now? And you've worked in the offices of the RNC. What do you think is happening in Republican land right now? With the president, the chairman of the party.
Nothing to see here. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
They're just full on Muppets in front of a fire.
I've been looking at what the QAnon people are saying, because I was super curious to see how
Sure.
they would respond, right? And it's pretty entertaining because
What do they think?
It varies on who you ask, but a lot of what I saw was people suggesting that he has gone underground because these are the options. One, this is him about ready to come out with this is the storm. Like the storm is literally going to happen. Now he's going to get like the whole deep state. All of the pedophiles will explode, when you kill the head vampire, whatever.
Sure.
Like they think it's going to be that. Or they think that he was deliberately infected by all the pedophiles to take him down. Those seem to be the two big narratives.
Also, there's also some concern that that he was admitted into Walter Reed because it's a military hospital, and they're afraid that the deep state folks may slip him the final cocktail that'll send him over the edge. There's been a little bit of that. There's been a little bit of that as well.
I appreciate that because there's one thing that is not believable. It's that a guy who lives in Florida who ignored the COVID warnings would get sick. That isn't a thing that's happened this year. I have a lot of moments where I just have like nightmares where I'm like, what if it turned out one day that while they're still evil and terrible, that every one of these conspiracies that QAnon believes is true? I have these moments like, what if
you have to let's be honest here, the folks who have been hiding in a bunker for decades, right? This is their moment. They were like, we told you something
that's true.
Happen. While all of us were rushing for toilet paper, I got toilet paper from a Mexican restaurant in Dallas, Texas. They sold it to me for a great deal. Got my enchiladas half off because of that. The folks who have been hiding in a bunker somewhere in Utah, listen, they look like the same ones right now. I'm just saying.
That's a really good point. My sister Caroline Brennan, who I invoke on this show a lot. Hi, Caroline. It was quick to note that because she lived in Houston at the time, because she starts preparing for hurricane season in January. She's like, I was already ready for this, and you all thought I was crazy, but I have all kinds of water, toilet paper, supplies. I don't have to leave ever. Good luck, idiots.
Yep.
I've just been waiting for a pandemic.
There were a little what could be considered conspiracy theories on the progressive side.
Sure.
It was more like high level skepticism as to what was actually coming, and it wasn't really. I shouldn't just say the progressive side, because the person who was tweeting the most on let's see, the announcement came like 1 a.m. on 1 a.m. Thursday night, Friday morning. The person who was tweeting this out the most was a woman by the name of AJ Delgado, who was a former communications person in Trump 2016, had a major falling out with Trump world because she had a relationship with a guy named Jason Miller, and she got pregnant, and he basically is not been fulfilling his fatherly financial duties and so forth. Sure. So that's out there. But she was highly skeptical for a few hours early Friday morning that Trump was actually COVID, given the entire mounting. Well, you touched upon it at the very beginning, Tom, how much bad news had started spilling out, starting last week, rolling in, from the taxes, rolling into the debate, and then all these other stories that had started spilling out about how awful Donald Trump's girlfriend Kimberly Guilfoyle was at Fox.
Melania said Christmas sucked.
Tapes of
also just lied to us consistently the entire time. Like it is a reasonable position to assume a liar is lying.
That's very true. Yeah.
And it's not just it's not just lying. It's also the fact that we've had a number of stories. And it's that obviously this president lies and his administration lies, but there have been a number of stories of late that talks about how this president corrupts agencies to spout out statements and policies that pump him up and undermine the mission of the agency. Most notably, several stories about how this administration has been corrupting the CDC. So
there was a study released the other day. It was literally, I retweeted somebody on Thursday that he is the single largest source of misinformation about COVID specifically. Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. Exactly. So it's not a total conspiracy theory to believe all of this awful news comes out, and then suddenly the president tests positive, and they're trying to like change the topic, and he goes undercover for 10 days, and then comes out fit as a fiddle, and ready, and say, hey, anybody can overcome this. Now, obviously, when suddenly all the story comes out about that it is bad because not just him, but all of these people have suddenly turned positive. I mean, you realize it's the real thing. But it's in an era when people are susceptible to all kinds of internet conspiracy lines and all this other kind of stuff. That's when you most need politicians to be truthful. And
everyone is talking this conspiracy stuff, but when we find the basement in Walter Reed Hospital, you'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see. That's where John is. And
yeah.
Look, all right. Laugh now.
I know. I love that. Like, I would love to open. There's John F. Kennedy Jr. with a bunch of monitors. He's like, I've almost got them all.
Yeah, JFK, Tupac, Biggie. I think Kamala the other day, they asked her who's the best rapper alive, and she said Tupac.
Yeah.
We knew it. We knew it. He's still alive. Where is he?
He did it. Jess, I think
Malcolm X is there too.
Jess, your thoughts on the plausibility of on this initial argument on whether or not it was believable that Donald Trump had the virus?
No, I think what Dr. Timaree said is true. Like, you have someone who is literally proven to be a liar this isn't just something that is, 4 years going. Especially, Robert, being a journalist in New York City, this guy's been a master of media manipulation for decades, right? Like, this is going since at least the 80s. And so when he's got a story over here that he doesn't want you to see, it's usually you don't notice it because he creates something else to make a headline at the same time, right? And so it's natural for folks to see one thing, but then be looking around like, okay, what's the thing that he's trying to hide, right? When the thing he would naturally try to hide is the headline, it's natural to look around and be like, well, no, what else is going on? What are you trying to get at, So it's, my mom's a psychologist, and she posted something yesterday. There's something called healthy cultural paranoia, I believe is the term. And it's literally it's something that we use to protect ourselves, right? It's self-preservation. You're trying to figure out because someone's taught you, something about them for so long, and you're trying to use that information to keep yourself safe. And, it's like my grandma said, if someone shows you who you are, believe them. Like, this is a situation in which I'm sure everyone's like, okay, how can we distract from the taxes? Oh, wait, no. How can we distract from COVID? Oh, wait, no. It's all building up. So.
Yeah, there's so much that came out in the last week or so. You start kind of getting into the, wow, I didn't quite have Trump blows up the debate to distract from the taxes, to distract from the
It is fun living in a 74-year-old man's.
It's just too much.
Yeah, this is a 74-year-old man's nervous breakdown that we're all living in, and that's what I think every day. Except he has some nuclear codes.
We've got it. I don't know who's sitting in a room right now trying to figure out how to distract, but I would love to see how. Let's see what else they can do.
Yeah. Oh.
Let's not. But
I assume by the end of this recording, he'll be like, "We just annexed Canada," and I'll just be like, "Oh God." I have to call them all back.
There's been so many gotchas, right? So many times oh, we finally got him. And they never did anything, right? And so when the taxes came out, I was like, meh. No one's minds are changed by this. It's just evidence of the thing we already knew, right? And that just keeps happening over and over again because our sense of hope is gone. And so we've just, like, over the last several years.
Actually, Timaree, our sense of hope has been infected.
Oh, very nice. Hope Hicks. Got it.
Way to keep it positive.
Nicely done.
Oh, hey,
Oh, boy.
hey,
Darryl, you could get a job with a tabloid with that kind of.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Darryl. I appreciate that.
So let's talk for then. But with a lot of the conspiracy theories from the left had to do with this being something to help his election chances. I'm curious people's thoughts. Does this help him politically? Like, does this help him at the polls? My personal opinion is, like, even if there's sympathy generated, every day that we're talking about COVID is a bad day for him. But I'm curious what other people's thoughts. Darryl, go ahead.
I think it's not going to work. I hope not, because I've seen people have the consternation like, oh, you know, people are going to be like, be nice to him because he's sick. And it's like, you mean the guy that made fun of a physically disabled reporter? Like, I don't care. And he's committed crimes. Like, the fact that you're sick does not matter it doesn't matter if you're sick. It didn't matter when, you know, there's so many people who have been infirm and have still been sentenced to things because they were healthy when they committed the crimes. Like, the
Mr. Ponzi scheme.
Or Weinstein.
Yeah.
Weinstein.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. Bill Cosby lost and then regained his sight and pulled a Lazarus. It's fine. You know, who cares? Right?
Very nice.
I was blind. Now I can see.
Yeah.
By the way, I like Mr.
Honestly, it's going to depend on how they spin it, right? I mean, I think there is a world, when you talk about, you know, the left, like conspiracy theories, is a world in which folks are thinking he doesn't really have it. This was, you know, yesterday I was hearing that, and that he's going to come out a week later like, oh, it's over. It wasn't that bad. See, you don't need to wear a mask. It was a small flu, and, like, you know, it was a little cold. You know, but also I think it brings the question, you know, I saw African American Policy Forum tweeted earlier, was like, who's deserving of empathy, right? I brought up before this, you know, I've been thinking about all of the service workers at the White House who are also, I mean, hopefully they have the access to get, you know, to get rapid tested the way Chris Christie did, but, you know, what happens to them? Do they get the same level of healthcare? We already know all the answers to these, but, you know, what, you know, what happens to those folks? And they didn't ask for this. I can just, you know, I can only imagine having to go to work, telling your kids, I'll be back tonight, and then showing up to this party where literally someone is like coughing in your face, and while trying to hug the person next to you, as you are just literally trying to pass them, you know, whatever food they offered on the lawn, and just wondering like, oh my God, do I need to go quarantine as well? And, you know, it's just.
There's video of the Supreme Court announcement event on the Rose Garden, which was that last Saturday?
Last Saturday.
That was last Saturday.
Last year. Yeah.
1 week ago.
That was last Saturday, and there's video there of Kellyanne Conway, who's tested positive. She's chatting with Bill Barr. The camera catches Bill Barr like sneezing into his hand, and then chatting with a whole lot of other people. Look, you know, Joe Biden, both because he's a decent guy and because his campaign, presidential campaigns that I've seen in many years, and that includes both of the Obama runs. They announced on Friday that they were going to be suspending their negative ads because the president is in the hospital. So they'll just be running the Biden positive vision and bio ads and things like that. But you know when they well,
hold on. I want to hear what Darryl says, and then Robert respond to it, because I bet it's.
I'm just saying, like, it's why I'm not in politics, because this would have been the perfect time. I would have started talking about his mom, it wouldn't stop. I'd be on TV, like, tell him I want to fight right now. Like, let's go.
One thing I appreciate, Ilhan Omar literally tweeted something like that, which I'm just like, she is literally speaking the minds of a lot of people in this country. She's like, get it. I think she literally was like, wow, why would you halt everything? Get it together. was, I think, like what the tweet said. I'm just like,
Well,
I think there's also
the contrast really. I mean, the contrast is. I mean, yesterday, Friday, October 2nd, was 4 years to the date when Hillary Clinton had her fainting spell because of the pneumonia, and Trump is at an event later that day, and he's mocking her. And she said, "Oh, he's doing this kind of thing," and mocking how she's walking down the steps and all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, if the things were reversed, there's no way that same kind of consideration would be happening. But the point I was going to say is, when Biden decides to lift that negative ad suspension.
yeah,
There are so many the ads that he can put together of the president at the Supreme Court announcement and showing how their cavalier attitudes, and he can point out, oh, there's Senator Lee, and oh, there's Senator Tillis. And oh, there's this senator, and there's that, and there's that, and the narrative that that is put together there, where you have a reckless president when it comes to this illness, a reckless Republican Party when it comes to this to this illness, and a reckless that brings all these people together so they can speed through the confirmation of a Supreme Court justice who is quite possibly will vote against the health care that millions of Americans have. I mean, it's a very tight narrative that brings the president's incompetence on the pandemic together with the institutional corruption of the Republican Party wanting to take away Americans' health care, which has been the line that VP Biden has been pushing over the last few weeks.
And like, aside from he's incompetent and he's doing a bad job and he's dangerous and here are all the facts, and like the facts are very clearly like this dude's bad. But aside from that, like, people don't really tend to make decisions from facts that great. They tend to do it from emotions. And I think the really, really key clutch thing about this, and the reason that Biden is smart to pull these ads, is that like the contrast between this guy who, like, I watched the video of him chatting with the kid who had the stutter, who later spoke at the DNC. And I was like, oh my God, that's a genuine human interaction between two people who have a shared experience. And I got in my feelings. And I had not been a Biden person up until that point. And I wouldn't say that I'm like, I'm a Biden person, but like, I was suddenly like, okay, I'm on board, because that is appealing to my sense of someone who at least cares. Like, at least cares about anyone other than himself. And the contrast could not be more clear, because the standard to which we're held on the two parties is so different. And like, yesterday, Obama came out and was like, sending well wishes and I hope he feels better. And the same day, Trump sends out a fundraising letter that talks trash on Obama. The distinction between the mean and, like, I know that people love Trump because he seems like mean, strong daddy, right? But at some point, you start to get people who are like, I don't know, man, am I like hanging out with a bully? Like, at some point you're going to get some people who are just like, that might have gone a little too far. You should have stopped at the wedgie, you shouldn't have like given him the swirly too.
Yeah, no, my read on Biden pulling the ads was like, to me, that didn't seem to me as a nice guy, like, oh, I feel bad. That seemed like a political move of, all right, I have a moment to make an announcement. I'll pull these ads. That's good press. Mm-hmm. And then throughout the weekend, at least through this weekend, maybe I don't know how you go deep into next week, but at least throughout this weekend, the news coverage will be about what we've been talking about. Donald Trump potentially put colleagues, he put staff, he put the people, his fans and the people who were not at these events, the various events, the fundraisers and rallies, who were not there by choice but had to work at risk. This is a reminder, he's so bad at managing this virus, even he got it. the coverage will be a negative ad enough. And then when you go to commercial break, there's smiling Joe Biden being a nice guy. Like that is how I read it. It didn't read as like disarming. It felt more like, all right, here's how we play this moment to look like we're being nice, but actually put him in even more of a bind.
I think it is putting a lot of trust, though, in the fact that people will read a moment the way you want them to read it, right? Like, I do think this is a moment where, I mean, folks don't trust the media. They obviously aren't going to trust like a political ad. And so to stop all ads and just really hope that you're drawing a very clear distinction, right? To not really punch back at a debate. Like, you're hoping that folks will see what you want them to see, and you're trusting that they will. I mean, but we honestly, there's so much in the air, we really won't know until November whether that works, right? You're like hoping that folks have common sense. And honestly, one thing this year has shown is that
good point.
Common sense is not common, right? So
yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, I don't.
Most of my downfall
Common
keeps
sense.
being when I put faith in people.
Common sense is not common. Sometimes it's not even nice.
Oh, very
Yeah,
nice.
there were like people that thought Trump was doing well at the debate, and I was like, what? Like, were you going for a battle of who gets the most airtime? Like, you're just going for like keep a timer going? Like, on what
Well, it was
level?
there. Biden was told, like, don't strike back, don't hit back, let him like beat up on you, laugh as much as you can, and like, you know, because they wanted to draw that distinction. And yeah, I mean,
Look, I did a piece of this. I thought Trump, in a weird way, and I made this point a couple of weeks ago, and one of our other panelists was very, very upset with me because I was giving Trump some credit for his entertainment type of abilities in some of these public events. And
yeah, I believe your exact words were Donald Trump, funniest, smartest, best president of all time, right?
yeah, that is something like that, exactly.
Sorry, go ahead, Robert. I'm sorry.
The point was he has certain natural entertainment skills that can translate into politics. So he's kind of a natural on there. And particularly if you look back at 2016, you could see him in his element, and you can see why he was able to beat such a big field of professional Republican politicians. But the interesting thing about Joe Biden is he is like he's sort of like Peyton Manning in his last winning Super Bowl run. He doesn't have quite the fastball, throw it all the way down the field, mixing my sports metaphors here, that he once did, but he's part of a team that is otherwise running on all cylinders. He's very coachable. He's doing what the coaches tell him to do. And one of the things, obviously, they told him to do was, push off Trump to the extent you can, but focus on the camera, talk to the American people. And he did that a whole lot, particularly when Trump went low with attacking him on Hunter Biden and stuff like that. And he says, look, this isn't about your family. It's not about my family. He looks up. This is about. He says it's not about your family, our family. It's about your family here. Talking specifically to the public, to the American people. And other times when Trump went on one of his rants, Biden just like ignored him and just like looked up at the camera and just like smiled with those the best veneers that money can buy, and it looked good. I mean, I think
Delaware tax break.
That's the way to Timaree's point. That's the way he's able to sell the empathy that he showed to that stuttering young man. He's able to convey that to the public at large.
And even you and I talked about, we did a show earlier this week, right after the debate, and I initially thought that shut up man was a pretty low point for Biden. But the more I've read, it seems like the general reaction of America was like, I don't know what I would have said in that situation. So
Talked about his mom.
Always the default. Always.
Oh man, if I ever run for office, I'm bringing Darryl. I'm just like, I would like to yield the time of this debate to my colleague, Mr. Charles. He's got some interesting opinions on your mom.
Right.
You know, when you many of us have taken improv and taken acting classes and things like that, and one of the things that a teacher will tell you is you have to know the rules and embrace all the rules to know when to break them and to in service of the truth of the scene. And Biden, of course, has his brand as being the anti-Trump, the empathetic guy. But he also knows that it's when it's right to say, "Shut up, man," and are you going to believe this clown? Because you're not going to win in an insult for insult fight with Donald Trump. But if you take your moment, you take just the right point, it cuts through. And I'm just surprised actually that the Biden people like left money on the floor by not immediately coming out with T-shirts that said "Just shut up, man."
I think they did.
I did.
Okay. I thought those were unofficial. I thought those were unofficial shirts.
Oh, well, maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe he pulled them as part of the negative ad poll. I don't know.
I was just like, I was wishing Elizabeth Warren was there. You know what I mean? Like, she would have been, oh God. Like, I had just like, you know, like the way that I had been looking forward to her eviscerating it, because she does it in that beautiful, wonderful, like grandma way where it's just like, you can't, you're done. You're done.
You remember Key and Peele's Obama anger translator? You know, you almost wish like Elizabeth Warren would pop up as like the Trump eviscerator in a way that the Biden can't quite go, and she would just said, "Excuse me."
I also think that's going to happen to the VP debate.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about. The negative ads may be paused, but there will still be, as of now, a vice presidential debate later this week. Lord knows, I assume while we recorded this, it's come out that Mike Pence has turned into a bat. But that vice presidential debate will still go on. I guess they are currently debating on whether or not there should be even more physical distance between the candidates, because one of the things that came out this week was that apparently the president got to his debate too late to get tested before the debate. So they don't know if he was tested for COVID-19 at that.
They got there too late. Yeah, right.
Fair enough.
Getting back to what we were talking about earlier on as to when did he test positive and, et cetera.
Let's talk. I want to talk very briefly about that vice presidential debate. There's a lot within it, obviously, like, if nothing else, more so in the last two elections has it been highlighted that the vice presidential choices could very well become president soon, given the age and in the case of Donald Trump, age and debts owed by the candidate. And then on top of it,
wait a second, Tom, are you saying that he's in the hospital because of COVID? He wasn't roughed up by the Russians and the Turks and the Indians that he owes money to? Is that?
I love the idea that maybe like the Secret Service's only thing they don't stop is Russian creditors. Sorry, it's in the Constitution. We have to let them. We are the Treasury Department. We can't have debts on our head.
That's above upgrade, yeah.
But the vice presidential debate will be this week. Mike Pence versus Senator Kamala Harris, and a thing that I'm curious looking at this. What I suspect will happen, particularly I expect it will happen even more with the president potentially still in the hospital then. Something Mike Pence does so well. He did it really well in 2016, and he does it well all the way in between. He behaves in a world, like he exists in a world where Donald Trump has never said any of the crazy things. Like when he's asked about him, he like reacts like, "What are you talking about?" I think back to when they were debating over, I think it was a government shutdown or a end of the budget bill, where there was a video of Pelosi and Schumer in the Oval Office with Pence and Trump, And Schumer and Trump are going at it like two old New Yorkers caught online at a deli. And Pelosi is just kind of like, sort of annoyed and interjecting as well. Or I think she was kind of sitting like she looked the most in command of the room, certainly. And then Mike Pence was sitting there with his eyes closed. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I think he goes to sleep. I think he wills himself to sleep every time Trump says something dumb or awful so that he has plausible deniability. And I am
going to my happy place. Going to my happy place. Well,
that was the thing. I think about this week, like I think Harris is a wonderful debater. I think she does a very good job of prosecuting the case, but I am anxious. Like Mike Pence is a master of being like, what do you mean try and kick people with pre-existing conditions off their health care? We've only tried to do that twice. I wouldn't say that's that many times. And America would be like, this reasonable guy is right. He makes some good points.
But not reasonable. He gave Indiana AIDS.
Yeah.
Wow. The state.
Yep, that's fair.
I'm not sure if that's completely accurate, Darryl.
All right.
By the transitive property, at least.
I think.
What are we thinking of the debate this week ahead? It is going to be a historical moment, but
he's not nearly as, and I don't think Trump would be described as like charismatic, but certainly like attention drawing. But Pence is such a milquetoast. Like, I don't use the phrase beta, but Jesus Christ, like the fact that he can't be alone with a woman, like he's not allowed to. Why any of these like Trump fans who are like, yeah, big daddy, like why they gotta think he's just like so whack. So I can't imagine. I don't really understand how they would appeal to the same market, except for he is there to vouch to the evangelical white supremacists. Like I think he's there to let them know, no, this guy will work for us and our like, racist, gay hating stuff. I think that's his only appeal, is that he's very clearly a bigot. Like that's
I think that's the strategy, right? Only talk to that group, right? And I think when I think about how folks are preparing, we have to think about the fact that they're going to be seen through two different lenses, right? Folks are going to be looking at him and think like, oh wow, he sounds strong and he sounds presidential. That's going to be something that is going to be looked at this week, right? Because what if he has to take over, very soon? And then for Kamala, right, we're going to immediately hear, oh, why did she wear that? Or, oh my gosh, she looks so angry. And these tropes are very real, and they're going to be graded on completely different scales.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Jess. I mean, that's absolutely perfectly. That is a. That's a kind of a maze that Obama had to navigate in not just in 2008, but kind of partly through his whole presidency. That you have to be careful if you're an African American in the public scene, and particularly obviously a politician. How you're not supposed to, this is particularly true for Barack Obama. You can't be the angry black man. You cannot, you're not allowed to show that anger, which is interesting because righteous anger is a weapon that many politicians use to good effect. And you can use it to help rally the forces because because the evil developer is coming to town and stuff like that. And if you're the
evil developer, you can use it to rally people to believe that it's the Mexicans' faults.
If you put it,
scream at your job interview if you're Brett Kavanaugh.
Yep. Yeah.
No, that actually is one example. That was one area where Brett Kavanaugh actually sort of was Pat Boone to Clarence Thomas's Little Richard, because Clarence. Oh God, that's the first time I've made that analogy.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Clarence Thomas did. This is the one example which actually undermines my original point. Clarence Thomas used righteous anger in his confirmation hearings in 1991, and he was, being from Georgia, was very, very smart to look up at that Judiciary Committee hearing in '91, and at that time it's all white men, and he knew how the dynamics of that was going to be playing to actually a number of African Americans, and at that point in time, the perhaps half of the Judiciary Committee were Southern Democrats who were dependent on black votes.
Each one more blustery than the last.
So he used, Howell Heflin was like, oh, I'm Howell Heflin, you know.
A lot of them were simple country senators, if I recall.
So the point was, he was able to use righteous anger in a political sense. Barack Obama, realizing though he's running for president, he's not able to use the righteous anger or display it as much as he might have wanted to during his 8 years. Kamala Harris is facing that same challenge, except it's added on this time. It's a black woman. So how does she navigate that? And again, because of Biden's age, people are going to be thinking of her. She could very well be president, not in 2024, but in 2021 or 2022. So yeah, I mean, Mike Pence, you can call him a beta, but he, quote, looks more of a conventional possible president in the classic frame than Kamala does. So
to be fair, we've had a lot of beta presidents, I think, at this point. You go back through the history, like the 1800s, just nothing. But
exactly. But yeah, so it's going to be, it will be interesting. And here's another question though. I mean,
please.
Why is there any reason why this debate has to be in, what is it, Utah? Is that where it is? I mean, given what's happened over the last either 3 days or 72 hours, depending on the way you talk about it. Is it necessary for two candidates, one who, by the way, could possibly have to take over if the president is actually incapacitated? Is it necessary for them to be flying around the country with their entourage and all this other kind of stuff, and then coming back? It would be just so much easier to have the debate in, Maryland or DC, where everybody can get there very, very close. In fact, any of the remaining debates, you should just keep them as close to one another as possible instead of flying them around the country.
If there are any more debates, that's a good question, because normally in a usual presidential year, part of why those debates are all over the country is like, it's an excuse. They can campaign around it. Normally it's in swing states, or when it was always in Hofstra, it was near where donors are. So like there's a natural avenue that, like, the purpose of the event was to advertise both campaigns. That's a good point. You could just do it in a basement somewhere in DC. Do it at the Trump Tower.
Do it on Zoom. Like they could literally, and then we could also mute people.
Yep, that's a good idea.
I think her best strategy is to really just treat Pence like she did Kavanaugh, right? And just some of the best, when I look at what folks respond to, and obviously I'm looking at a very small sample because I'm looking at Twitter, but at the end of the day, angry, we know angry isn't gonna work because we Black women can't show that. She tried the laughter thing during the primary, and folks were immediately calling it cackling, or she thinks she's better than us. So I don't think she goes that route. I think she really just has to lean into those gifts we have of her, just kind of like, what are you, just kind of that, what did you just say? And that, that mood. I think she really needs to channel that. And I think she's just got to, really lean into the proprosecutor side of it, right? Yeah. And that's my advice.
That's absolutely right. Like when she's all business, she's very, those other moments, like the moments of anger, like I've loved them. But I am unfortunately not reflective of my people. But at the same time, those moments where she's been all business and just like, I'm sorry, let's just go back on those facts that you weren't 100% right about, have been very effective too. And also, don't prosecute him, prosecute Trump. If
he's smart, he's studying the Kavanaugh tapes right now, and so hopefully we'll just get a ton of crying and just like, I didn't do that. I'd love that.
I think he'll probably, given the week that's going on, I would bet money that he will use his opening remarks to celebrate the history-making candidacy that she has, because that is just like he is the evil guy with the who says nice things that makes America go, maybe these people aren't that bad. Like, I'd bet money that his first thing would be like, whatever your opinion, what an amazing, how humbled I am to be part of this history making debate. I guarantee it will happen. I think we're going to leave it there for this week. This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, panel. Thank you for being here. Timaree, anything to plug before we head on out?
Let's see. You can go to Sex with Timaree, Timaree, for news, for porn, for also getting episodes of DTF, Darryl and Timaree Fun Hour, the greatest sex education comedy game show in the known universe. DTF.
Wonderful show. I was on a few weeks ago. It was so much fun. Darryl, other things to plug?
You can go to darrylcomedy.com, DARRYL, to see my dates and stuff. I'll be doing things online and in real life until it gets too cold.
The way to do it. Jess, anything to plug or for the audience at home?
Yeah, not yet. However, I am launching something very exciting the week of the election. And so to learn more, you can follow me at Purely Jess, spelled regularly, and I will keep you all updated there.
Excellent. And Robert, George, anything to promote?
Well, I'll have a big announcement later this week.
Oh my!
People can follow me on Twitter at RobGeorge to find out what will be happening in my life. So,
Mike Pence is picking him as a running mate.
except I wasn't born in the United States. But hey,
Oh,
neither was Obama. So
there you go. Keep that field alive.
Tom, I realized I gave them the wrong Twitter handle. I gave you guys my old Twitter handle that I changed once I became a professional. So it's Jess M. Matthews. Again, spelled regularly, 2 T's.
We'll fix it in editing, or we might not. Depending on how much time we have. Thank you very much, panel. And I'll also say, go to the Daily News website and check out Robert's article on the debate from this week, because it was very good. And again, the first 10 articles are free. Thank you very much, panel. And another quick thank you to Declan Shalvey and Jordy Belair, who created the Electoral Dysfunction Eagle art. Thank you to Kevin Scott for our show animation. Thank you to Joanne Harris for the show theme song. And thank you to Ned Thorne for helping me put these together every single week. Now, to play us out this week, fans of the stage show of Electoral Dysfunction know Jim Tassone as the only sane libertarian in America. He has stood for his party's nomination for the state senate and the Congress, and always brings a sense of empathy and compassion to his debates. Sadly, earlier this year, he contracted COVID-19, but we're happy to say that he is recovering right now. And while he doesn't have any new songs, he sent along a song that he played earlier this year, back before COVID hit. So Jim, on behalf of everyone in Electoral Dysfunction, get well soon. We look forward to disagreeing with you politely as soon as you're able. And with that, Ned Thorne, star wipe us to New Jersey.